Hi, everyone. Welcome to Allowing Opportunity and Creating a Channel for It as part of our second annual Midwest Design Week. This event is in collaboration with AIGA Unidos and their 2021 Hispanic Heritage Talks. So thanks for coming, everyone. My name is Sarah Rasnick, and I am a programming chair with AIGA Indianapolis, one of the 70 plus chapters of AIGA, the Professional Association for Design. This week, we have really exciting events that focus on our theme, Access to Design, including tomorrow's event, Why Not Us, with Sierra Leroy, and our closing keynote event on Friday lunch hour, Thank You for Your Feedback, by Liz Jackson and Alex Haggard, founding members of the Disabled List. All our events are recorded and will be available on YouTube in case you are unable to watch any events in real time. Any updates on event information throughout the week can be found on Slack. We will also be collecting questions for our Q&A for this talk in Slack. So if you haven't signed up, this would be a perfect time to do so. I do want to take a minute to thank our sponsors. This would not be possible without them. Thank you to Saatchi and Saatchi X, the University of Arkansas Graphic Design Program, Creatives on Call, Salesforce, Deckel and Moneypenny, and all of our sponsors. We're grateful for your support and honored to have you entrusted us to fulfill our goals for Midwest Design Week in a meaningful way. If you need special accommodations to ensure great Midwest Design Week experience, please don't hesitate to reach out to our Midwest Design Week organizing team members on Slack, and we will do our best to provide you with what you need. So thanks, everyone. I want to introduce our speaker. Arianna Cruz is a passionate, driven 25-year-old who lives in Indianapolis metropolitan area with her partner and their 2 dogs. She graduated first generation from Indiana University, Purdue University in 2018 with a bachelor's in marketing and international studies with minors in communication and economics. Arianna is currently serving as the Director of Marketing and Outreach at Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Indiana. She is the founder of More Magazine, Making Opportunities Reachable for Everyone, a publication that works to educate and inspire its readers and call them to action in their communities. Arianna is always looking to connect with people, learn from their experiences, and shape her community in a positive way. In her little spare time, she enjoys seeing her friends, creating her own clothing, supporting local businesses, and finding fun new ways to exercise her mind and body. Arianna, welcome, and I will give you the floor.
Thank you so much, Ashton. All right. Hello, and welcome to Allowing Opportunity and Creating a Channel for It. My name is Arianna Cruz. I am a first-generation woman, and I am so proud of my Filipino heritage that comes from my dad's side, as well as my Mexican culture stemming from my mom's side. My dad and his family immigrated from the Philippines after he graduated high school, and he came here with nothing more than the clothes on his back and a Walmart plastic bag grocery equivalent of his belongings. And on my mom's side, her dad, my grandfather, he worked for 19 cents an hour before immigrating to the US from Mexico. Both of these men in my life made huge jumps to come somewhere they had never been before in the efforts to create opportunity, not only for themselves, but for their families to come. And so to me, opportunity means to have the ability to explore one's full potential. And I am so thankful for the chance to do that in my everyday life because of the work of my family and because of the opportunities allowed in my life. And so when I think about opportunity, I think about this phrase a lot. It comes to mind a lot because I work with women regularly and it's been pretty popular. Empowered women empower women. But the phrase itself is incredible because of how applicable it is to so many different scenarios. It can be empowered teachers, empowered designers, and so on. And so the root of the message is being that when you are empowered, you have the ability to empower others. So the question I pose today is, how are you creating the channel of opportunity in what you do? When we look at the channels for opportunity, I mainly see and focus on two of them: your channel and the channel with you and your team. And the world is a very big place. We all know this. And when I first started my mission, as Sarah mentioned, of making opportunities reachable for everyone through my magazine more, honestly, I felt a bit overwhelmed. I mean, how in the heck can I, one person, work to make opportunity reachable for everyone? It's a really big mission, honestly. But as I started to think about it and I thought about what I am capable of and what I'm able to do and the ways that I'm able to help others and empower them to also work towards that mission, it felt much more achievable. So let's start with us, you and me. And it's funny because when I was putting this presentation together, I realized how many components of it are intangible. But then I was like, well, when you think about it, a lot of tangible success stories and pieces start with the idea, right? So today we're going to be starting again with the intangible that will, hopefully lead to many successful pieces of tangible action items and product. So when I look within, I ask myself, what am I doing to create opportunity for the next first generation woman like myself? And so when I put the question back on me, it feels a little bit easier to ask and a little more approachable because I can rephrase it in different ways. What did I need before now? What would have helped me achieve my goals? And so on the slide, you'll see a few different questions that kind of get that conversation going with yourself, right? So I think through a lot of these questions, and honestly, easy answer is money. We can all use extra money to achieve and alleviate stress. But think further, right? Think back to the intangible. What would have helped you develop? What would have pushed you to think outside the box? What could you have utilized to get you to where you are right now? So let's answer those questions. I'll answer them from my point of view right now, but as we go through them, and we'll revisit that list of questions on the other slide, think about it from your point of view. So let's start with what would have opened doors for me. And honestly, my answer will probably always be mentorship, first and foremost. Having a mentor gives you a space as a new designer, a business entrepreneur, someone in their 20s figuring it out, and you're able to connect with somebody that you're able to trust, someone you're able to look up to, and they can provide you with feedback and encouragement and even resources. And so I work now with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and mentorship is our whole mission. And I think back to when I was in college and I was also a big sister, which was amazing to have that impact with somebody. And I think about all the mentors I had in my life. Maybe I didn't realize they were mentors at that time, but having somebody who can stand in your corner and guide you and encourage you, it makes a difference. And so I take this answer from this one question and I try to reflect on myself. And I think mentorship would have helped me. Am I someone right now who would be able to offer mentorship to somebody else? And I think through that because offering what you needed is a way to create a channel of opportunity. It's a very easy way to do it because you know what would have helped you. And without a doubt, if it could have helped you, there is somebody out there that it could also help. At the same time, though, I feel like this starts to sound a lot like be the person you needed. And I think that that can get kind of heavy. And who knows? Maybe you needed a lot of persons. I needed a village. Who doesn't? And that's okay. But right now, we're focusing more on being the channel that allows opportunity. And so you don't need to be all those persons that you needed. You still need to be your own person right now and be the person that you're becoming. That doesn't mean, though, you can't find what you're good at and make time to focus on it and expand that out to others. So we're going to revisit this line of questions and kind of explore the different ways that we're able to help. So on the slide, let's look at these questions. We have what would have opened doors for me? What would have helped me achieve my goals? What kind of support would have made my journey less stressful? What resources could I have used? What would have helped me develop? And what would have pushed me to think outside the box? Again, these are just a few questions, kind of get them going. You can answer your own questions however you want, but I'm going to walk through a couple of examples right now. So maybe you're somebody that has a lot of experience. Would you be open to sharing that insight on a project here or there? Maybe you check back at the college you graduated from and you volunteer your time to offer feedback on student projects. Or perhaps you're really good at connecting people. Maybe you take that skill and you're intentional with your time to network with those that are younger in their career and connect them to somebody that could turn into a mentor for them. Or perhaps you're really in tune with resources available to, say, women in STEM, and you recognize that you have impact and you have a platform. So you use that platform and that impact to regularly share those resources with those around you. Finding what your channel of opportunity looks like is as unique as your path is to where you are now. And we all have different strengths. This isn't a secret. We've all done a Myers-Briggs, right? And so what we're able to offer through our own channel of opportunity for others is just as unique as what we offer in our skill set. And so all of this, again, comes from an intangible place. But as you grow, what your channel looks like should also grow. So maybe right now you're volunteering time. Maybe a few years from now you're donating money to a local Shark Tank. What your channel looks like now does not have to remain the same. You are meant to grow and change in the same way your channel of opportunity is going to grow and change. All right, so we go back to the channels for opportunity and we move into the second half, you and your team. What does that look like? Are you managing a team or are you working on a team? Maybe you've joined this conference as a student and you're learning about what you want in a team. No matter, understand that you will always play an active role on some sort of team. So we're going to start with being a team player and the channels that are available there. And when we focus on you and your team, let's look at it broadly and then we'll narrow the focus. So when you look at your team, do you constantly feel like you're competing with them? Understandably, in some departments like sales, it will be a little bit of a competition, plainly. But in the office environment itself, do you feel like you're working together towards something? Or do you constantly feel like instead of focusing on your growth, you're focusing on who's on your tail? Competition is obviously a good thing when done properly. You want people to feel challenged and pushed to their best, but you don't want them to feel like they can't grow because of that challenge, because they're so focused on not falling behind. And so when you can create a space that allows growth for your team, and you can do that through building team camaraderie or clarifying people's roles, even in sales, people have their own territories, but creating that space allows for opportunities for everyone to grow. And you want your team to grow because then it means more opportunities for all of you as a whole. And so finding the conversation that your team needs to have to allow for growth and to efficiently run their missions is kind of a priority. So when you create a space for collaboration over competition, another one of my favorite sayings, you create your team's own channel for opportunity. And this can lead to more meaningful team huddles where people feel like they have a space to share their voice and to share their opinions, because then people will feel valued when they aren't neck and neck with the people they're working with. It also allows for a deeper understanding of everyone's roles. And that leads to a better use of time and energy because then everyone will understand their key functions instead of competing for the same tasks. And so when you work on a team, you're able to, more often than not, organically start that conversation that leads to these different outputs. When you're managing a team, though, that usually comes with more responsibility to allow those channels of opportunity for your team to grow. And so now we're moving into the part of the conversation that focuses on the channel creation from a leadership perspective. I'm going to bring this quote back, although shortened. Empowered, empower. This took me a while to understand at first, honestly, because I was like, empowered, empower. I don't understand. But again, we're going back to kind of what I started with. And so when you take the time to focus on yourself and you grow yourself, you typically end up being in a place to grow others and to help others. We touched on this lightly before we talked about how your channel of opportunity grows and adapts with you as you grow and adapt, and what you're able to offer changes. Another way I really like to think about this is when you fill your cup, you're able to overflow into others' cups. So think of that champagne pyramid, and someone's pouring the champagne down, and that top cup fills and it overflows and fills all the cups around it. That is your impact. When you take care of yourself, you can help take care of others, and whatever that looks like. And so in this section, we're going to look at how you not only create that channel for opportunity, but the different ways you are able to allow it and empower it as a leader. And so many of us, I'm guessing, will end up in some sort of leadership role at some point in our life. And at this point, we've all had some kind of leader in our life. And so I want you to think back on those leaders that you've had. Think back on the jobs that you've had. What do the good leaders do, or the ones that you favored? And maybe what did you not like about other leaders? Think about why you stayed or maybe left certain jobs. Are you thinking about it? I can only imagine that everyone here today wants room for growth. You're attending this conference to expand your knowledge, and we see that. And so I think it would also be safe to say that most of us consider growth when considering a career change or a new field. And in the same way we consider it for ourselves, we should also consider how we offer that growth and opportunity to those that we're leading and those that look up to us. And so this is one of my absolute favorite ways to think about leadership: watering can leadership. So, personal anecdote. In my first job out of college, I worked for an art gallery. It was amazing. I was a fresh grad, and in my own mind, I was full of experience and ideas, and I had all this room to grow and continue learning. And so I worked on this 4-person, all-woman team. It was amazing. And they gave me so many words of encouragement and just affirmation in what I was doing. And so as I got that encouragement and those affirmations, I began to get a little bolder in my designs. I wasn't just doing very templated things. I was expanding and exploring different pieces of design. And so as more of these ideas were accepted, I would continue to try to push the envelope even further. And I remember very distinctly, it was for one of our biggest art fairs. I created a table of contents for it, along with a cover that was very outside the box of what we normally do. And I shared the cover and the table of contents in a separate email to my boss. And I remember submitting it, and I included in the email, before I had all the confidence, right? I said, if you don't like this, please find the other attachment as well. A little more low-key, a little more templated to what we normally do. And from that, the gallery owner ended up emailing me to set some time aside to talk about the work I'd submitted. And honestly, I went into it just thinking like, this is a little off brand, like let's stay this way or whatever. I mean, I felt it was on brand. Y'all know as designers, like you kind of want to stay on brand, but then explore pieces. And so, I mean, it was something like that. And I walked into that meeting, and she ended up sharing how impressed she was with me. And she had asked if I had any formal training in design, and I shared that I had been self-taught. And she shared with me the potential that she saw in me. And she asked if I would be interested in taking some classes or continuing education, if I knew it would be paid for. And so I definitely was enthusiastic about that. And months later, she saw my work continuing to grow, and I was offered my first big promotion in my career. And when laying out that first promotion, she had already outlined her goals to grow me into my next position. And so when I think of the leadership that she exemplified, I think of a watering can. As a leader, you are the watering can full, right? Full of water. And those that you lead are in the garden around you. And so you keep yourself full so that you can continue to nourish and grow those that you lead. And it's very, in my mind, I think selfless, because you are growing those around you to hopefully just continue to shine and grow and potentially outgrow where they are. And so as we think through what opportunities and channels of growth we create for our teams, I also want us to think about how you can be a watering can to those in your own gardens. And so when we think of this growth, I feel like the first thing that comes to mind are promotions. But there are so many different ways that we can work to provide opportunities to challenge and grow and expose our teams to new experiences in a professional setting. But first, we'll start with promotions. So I think the questions to ask are, does your company have paths for growth within it? And how many employees have transitioned upward since they've started? When I would interview with companies during my undergrad, every internship for me needed to look like a possible place of employment for the time to come. I also would ask them how much they look to promote from within. And I think establishing a culture of growth is incredibly important, as it gives people the incentive to stay with your team, as well as establishing the trust and confidence that you have in them to grow and to succeed. So we're going to flip it and think about how many employees have also been able to make a vertical move when leaving your company. Even if a company is not right for you or for your employee, when they go somewhere else, you want them to be able to mobilize upward still. And so I feel like sometimes companies shy away from thinking about this because it feels like a waste of an investment, because they took the time to grow this person and now they're leaving. But I think, again, with the watering can leadership style, it is selfless, because sometimes you see the full bloom and sometimes you only get to see the beginning buds. I don't think that that means you don't try to care for it and grow that person as much as you can because you're not sure you're going to benefit from it. I think we need to start reprioritizing the people we lead rather than only seeing them for their potential return on an investment. And so along with the obvious channels of opportunity, like a promotion, think of the way that continued education and sharing insight or informational interviews and intentional one-on-ones and allowing access to feedback and resources can allow for growth. And so as supervisors and leaders, we set the tone for the way these different opportunities of growth are perceived. When we prioritize and allow the time for our team members to participate or have access to these different opportunities, we are then creating those channels of opportunities for them. So I'm going to walk through these just a little bit to give you like my own personal opinion on them. Couldn't think of the word for a second. But offering continuing education shows that we want to invest time and sometimes money into our team. I think that that really shows the confidence that we have in them and the mindset of considering an asset to us and to them to grow their knowledge. In the same way, giving them opportunities to gain insight from us or from others in their current or desired field also allows them to grow their own knowledge and can be on a very personal level. So much can be gained from hearing personal stories or experience from people. On a side note, I mean, I think this is why TED Talks are so successful, because it's one person sharing their experience with a topic and relaying the lessons that they learned from it. And I'll share some of my experience and insight towards the end of the presentation to kind of get you thinking about the different ways you can do that. And so in another personal setting, informational interviews can also be incredibly helpful. To those early in their career, or those exploring the different career paths, or just wanting to learn more about a specific company or field, it gives your team members the opportunity to make time and know it's okay to make time to grow their mindset and to grow their knowledge as well as their network. I personally think that informational interviews are most impactful when it's someone you don't know, so you can learn from them. I love connecting with somebody at like a networking event or um, really anywhere, and not knowing them, not knowing their whole story, and having that informational interview, because then you're hearing this whole new experience, this whole new journey, and more often than not, you're able to relate to some part of it. I also think networking with people outside of your comfort zone, or I'm so sorry, let me rewind. Networking with people who are outside of your current network pushes you outside of your comfort zone. And in that space, I think is where we grow the most. And so in the same way that informational interviews can allow for connection, I think offering one-on-ones as a leader makes you a resource for your team. I think making yourself available and accessible to your team members says a lot. It means that you're making time for them. It means that you are willing to offer guidance and feedback and insight on the work that you're seeing from them. And that helps them grow and improve or learn more about themselves along the way. And so again, we're going to revisit this phrase, likely for the last time this evening, but we'll see. This time it reads, empowered leaders empower future leaders. I share this again because I think a lot of us here are taking the initiative to seek more for ourselves, and that on its own exemplifies some leadership qualities. I don't think anyone would disagree with me on that, right? And so I see a lot of us here today as participants and speakers and attendees and the hosts. As leaders, are at the very least future leaders. And I think as leaders, it is our responsibility to acknowledge our influence and our ability to create these channels of opportunity, as well as to ensure that we are allowing these channels to actively exist for our teams and for those that we lead. And there are so many that look to us for wisdom and insight and experience. And it can truly be on us to pave that path forward for them, knowing what we know it took to get to where we are today. And so with that knowledge in mind, I know that I choose to make an active choice in my life, both professional and personal, to actively make time to help create channels of opportunity that I'm able to in my position in my career, as well as in my position as the owner of More Magazine. So I'm going to walk through a couple examples that I do to create these channels. So again, More was created with the mission to make opportunities reachable for everyone. And I work to do that in a number of ways. And so as I grow and the magazine has grown, these ways that I've been able to do that, I've grown with it, and it's been incredible to see. And so I know one of the first things that we were able to do, based off of my experience as a college student, I had little to no experience my freshman year. I don't know anyone who has a ton of experience at that time, but it was hard to get internships. And so because of that, I thought, what can I do? Like, what would have helped me get an internship at that time? What would have helped me grow my experience at that age? And it was somebody just offering me an internship and giving me that chance. And so I offered internships for the first time at the beginning of this summer, and they were unpaid for their first session, but they had access to me as a mentor. They were able to build their own internship, because for a magazine, we have like the finance side, we have the partnerships, we have the creative side, we have set builds, we have designers. There's a lot of different components that go into it. And so I had these wonderful 4 freshman interns from IU, just so much energy and so fun. And they were able to really build it out for their own. I wanted them, I knew it was unpaid. And so I wanted them to have this internship truly, truly as a stepping stone to get them to where they were headed next. And with that in mind, I would offer the mentorship. They were able to choose how often they wanted to see me. And some of them did weekly, some of them did weekly towards the end of their mentorship to kind of build their portfolio and look at their resume and like add this internship to a meaningful way in their resume and into their cover letters. And others, I encouraged them to do the informational interviews. I walked through with them people that I knew that they might be able to interview with. So I wanted to connect them. I also made it a priority that they saw out opportunities for them to grow their own knowledge. They were required to do a certification each month in a field of interest. So some of them would do the HubSpot social, one did email marketing, one did Google Analytics. And it was amazing because they would report back on it and they'd be like, I realized I don't really like this, so I'm going to explore this next time. And so that was one way we were able to create a meaningful opportunity for younger people. Additionally, I work with a lot of up and coming contributors like photographers and designers and writers and just anything you can think of that goes into building a magazine, as well as a mix with very established people in their careers. And when you're able to say that you are in the same publication as someone who's established, like that is a step up for someone who's up and coming, right? And so I think you get your big break or your potential big break when someone just takes a chance on you. And with our platform, it's small but growing. I am always more than happy to share the stage, to help build someone's portfolio, to help connect them with our audience, and to just grow their own reach. I mean, it takes someone just seeing a piece of your work to connect with you and potentially work with you. And in making opportunities reachable for everyone, I also work very hard, again, with the platform sharing, to share voices and stories that are not often talked about. I'm so thankful for the platform that Midwest Design Week has allowed me today, and I only hope to do the same for others. And so I work to make opportunities reachable for everyone by curating content that will educate and inspire and call people to action. And I know that that call to action can look so different depending on where you're at with your journey with a certain topic. Maybe it's asking a question. Maybe it's doing more research into something. Maybe it's getting involved with a nonprofit. We have our nonprofit neighborhood where we offer, again, another channel of opportunity for nonprofits where the marketing budget is not normally prioritized. I was a marketing intern with a handful of nonprofits. I know how it goes. And so we offer these different partnership packages to share their mission with our readers who are looking for that next call to action. Another way that we work to do this is through founder to founder. And I always joke that founder to founder is mainly for me. I get to spend time interviewing female founders in a variety of industries, hearing their story and connecting with them. And it's absolutely incredible. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite pieces of the magazine. But we're creating this opportunity for these founders to share their mission, to share their business, share their nonprofit with our audience. They're having this way to connect in a more personal way of why they do what they do and how people can get involved, how they can interact with them. And in the same way, we are sharing with our very conscious audience these amazing nonprofits and businesses and female founders that they can interact with and they can support. And I think all of that kind of ties into seek more. We always encourage people to seek more. And today, I not only encourage it, I'm going to demand it, that you seek more ways to make opportunities reachable for everyone in your own life, ways that you can make channels of opportunity and ensure that you continue to allow it, not only for yourself, but for those that you lead and those around you, those that feel your impact and your influence. And so thank you so much to Midwest Design Week again for having me, for sharing their platform, for creating this opportunity for me to share my voice, to share More Magazine and Big Brothers Big Sisters and the different ways that we're able to create these channels of opportunity and allow it. And I believe now we will be beginning the Q&A. Is that right, Sarah?
Yes, that's right. Thanks so much, Arianna. Appreciate that. I feel like when I was trying to really figure out my career and like, what do I want to do? And, it's kind of hard to figure that out just from Googling like how to be a graphic designer or, whatever industry you're trying to go to. And I always really appreciated I would just go on LinkedIn and find like mutual connections and like people in the industry that I was trying to get into. And I've sent so many messages to people, like if they would have coffee with me, if I could have questions, and I got a lot of nothing. It's not even, I didn't get no's, I got nothing back. But I always appreciated there were people that did respond and did take the time to go and speak with me, like some stranger that just wanted to like ask him questions. And I still remember those people. And it's just something as little as an hour of the time to go to a coffee shop, and hopefully they're buying your coffee if they're asking, for your time. So yeah, something as easy as that, keeping your messages open in LinkedIn and trying to just be in a position where, yeah, go ahead, ask me questions. I'll help guide you on what you can do for your career.
That's awesome. That's awesome that you're doing it and you recognize how helpful it was to you when you were trying to find that.
Yeah. We all need a little bit of help,
Yeah. I was going to say, sorry, I popped on, so I wanted to add a comment in there too. But yeah, I think I really loved your presentation talking about all these different opportunities for channels people to be able to, create opportunities for other people. Because I feel like often companies or individuals are like, oh, how can I help, make, especially in the world of design, like how can we make, the design career, a more diverse place? Like how can we have more BIPOC representation in the places that we work and the designers that are putting out work for our companies? And that's a big part of it. Like, I mean, a lot of people, the way they get their start is that someone takes a chance on them. Someone takes a meeting, someone believes in them, believes that they can do the work, like knows that, like we can teach you, we could teach you software, but like, we like the way that you think and the way that, the things that you're going to bring to your team. And I feel like people don't often think about that, like those interactions and taking coffee with people, or, interviewing a candidate who maybe doesn't have, the flashy resume, or doesn't have, all of the high res mocks or whatever in their portfolios and stuff like that, like really bringing everybody in no matter what, and giving everyone an equal chance and opportunity to be able to come forward and show their work and prove to them that they can work there, and that they can put in the effort and bring the diversity of both like themselves and well as also like thought and ideas to a team. So I just think that's super important. And I think we sometimes don't think that like that makes much of a difference. Like, oh, someone reached out to me on LinkedIn is probably not that big of a deal, but it really can make a difference for that person. I think, Sarah, do you want to go ahead and read, I think, some of the questions we pulled together here in the chat?
Yeah. Okay, we got some coming in. All right. First question is, do you have any go-to strategies for creating camaraderie in this pandemic world? This has definitely been a challenge this year of getting that connection with people. What are your thoughts on that?
I know with our interns this summer, they were in Bloomington and then everyone went home for the summer. So even if we weren't in a pandemic, it was going to be kind of hard to connect. And so I feel like we had a group message that was, we had a couple message streams. One was like pretty focused on tasks, and then one that was like just more fun. You can send memes, send some gifts, and making it so it's like we're still people. We're still like looking to connect with one another. It doesn't have to be like, did you get your assignments done? Are your deadlines being met? Like, don't talk to me unless it's about work. And for me, like in that leadership position, making myself like accessible as a person and not just like their boss. Are you guys able to hear the dogs barking?
It's okay, yeah.
Okay, great.
We all have to deal with it, yeah.
But making myself accessible to them, I think reminded them that I am somebody that's in their corner and somebody that like they can genuinely connect with. And obviously in the pandemic, I think giving everyone just a little bit more grace, because sometimes they're like, I'm having a bad mental day and I really want to be focused on this, but I can't. And I'm like, that's okay. Like you have to take time for you. And I mean, even if you're going to be at your best performing self, you need to be taken care of. And so that to me, it felt like a higher priority to make time for those mental health days or for those conversations that weren't about work, to build that trust and kind of that friendship.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, being intentional about the connection that you have. It doesn't have to be about work or the objective at mind. Send a little message and see how people are doing. That's always
Mhm.
important. Next question. What cadence have you found works best for your one-on-ones? Monthly, weekly, bi-weekly?
Yeah, I definitely think it depends on the person. When I was in college, I had a mentor that I met with once a semester. Yeah, semester would have been half. And so, I mean, that's pretty spread out, but she was really there just to ask questions about these are the classes I'm taking. Do you think it's applicable? Like, what am I really able to do with this? And just like a lot of bigger picture, like, tell me there's a light at the end of the tunnel because right now I'm drowning in like accounting homework. Whereas with some of the interns, um, depending on how active they were or wanting to be active and like building their career, one I did weekly, and every week she would want some kind of call to action, a reach out to 3 people on LinkedIn that you don't know and know it's okay that you don't know them because that's the only way you're gonna like meet people. And then another one was bi-weekly, and so she wanted things that would take a little bit longer. So with her, I was definitely encouraging more of those informational meetings. So I think at the beginning, I had a one-on-one with all 4 interns to be like, what are your goals? What else do you have going on? And what do we need to put in place to help you achieve those goals? And so, I mean, based off of that, that kind of set the tone of how often we needed to meet. So I think seeing a little bit of the end picture really helps guide that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Another question. Did you work with colleges, career development centers to set up these internships, or just how did you go about getting these internships set up in general?
Yeah. So honestly, I spoke at a women in business conference for Indiana University, and that was an amazing experience. And I ended up getting, because I told everyone, I was like, connect with me on LinkedIn, open to like sharing any input. If you didn't get your question answered, I'd love to answer it outside of this. And a lot of the questions were, I would like to mentor with you. I'd really like to maybe shadow for a day or be involved in some way that I can grow my experience. And so honestly, I hadn't even been thinking about interns until that question was filling up my inbox a little bit. And so I honestly just worked with, I mean, I had other internships. I had talked to a couple other people, some of my mentors to be like, they want to work with me. What do I need to do? Luckily, one of my mentors is, she works in compliance. So I was like, do they need to fill out the W-9? What does it look like legally for me to do? But having the conference that I spoke at kind of already happened. It was kind of like a very specific career fair because they all knew who I was. They knew what I was doing. And so it was like, I think about it now and I'm like, that was kind of like a whole pitch for them to like learn about me and who they could be working with and like our mission. And so outside of working with my mentor who's in compliance and then just reflecting on my experience, and I know that I didn't go through many of my college career offices. I did for a couple internships, but like something like this, it was kind of just at a career fair and you made it happen on your own. And we had four girls that were just very intentional and like following up. And so it made sense to just go with all 4 of them at the end of the day. But as we're getting ready to, I mean, I say getting ready, it's only fall, but we're already thinking into next summer. Like I am planning to work with the nearby campuses to expand that. So it's not just you have to invite me to speak on your campus for me to offer interns to your students. So I do want to kind of open it up. And so I think this coming year, I might be working more with those career services. And I think it is really easy if you have connections already there to share what you're doing because they want to help you, especially if you're an alum.
Yeah, definitely. And there are also channels like AIGA that you can join. There's a nice little plug there.
Very subtle.
Yeah.
Gotta have the plug. Gotta have
I
the
try.
plug.
I have a question. I'm curious to know. I think so much of this time working from home brings a lot of like the things that you're doing in your work to your home because it's right here. And I feel like this is one of those situations where, this can really come into ways you can apply this to your personal life. And I'm curious to know, Have you seen this impact, your personal life, whether that be like, I want to be a better leader in my friend group, or I want to learn more about like what they're trying to accomplish in their jobs? I think that's something that we could all kind of take in and think about.
That's very funny. I actually had a slide that was talking about this is applicable to so many different pieces of your life outside of your career, but I was like, I gotta kind of stay focused on it when I was going through my slides earlier today. But yeah, I think again, like the channels can look so different. And so I know even with my partner, and I'm sure people can relate to like someone that you are romantically involved with, like you're gonna butt heads at some point. But I feel like we have gone through like a lot of like communication conversations because we communicate very differently. We have different love languages. And so for me in that relationship, it was really looking at ways that I can create opportunities for him to express his feelings and making sure that like I was understanding what he was trying to say or what he was trying to do. Um, can't even think of like a really good example right now. He like did the dishes and put them all away one day. And honestly, in my mind, I was just like, that's just what you do. But later on, and I'm like learning that I think his love language is like acts of service. And so he said, and I honestly did not even like give him the opportunity to like tell me, but I mean, you don't normally tell people when it's your love language, but he was like, I did that because I knew you were busy and I wanted you to feel less stressed. So I kind of just took care of the kitchen for you. And I feel like in your personal life, you kind of have to create these channels of opportunity for the dialogue to be there or for them to show you something. I mean, even with friends, like you can have a friend who's really flaky. And if you just write them off, then you're kind of closing that door of opportunity. And I mean, it's a balance of setting your own boundaries and like taking care of yourself as well. But it's also being careful if you are taking a step back or something. It's like, is that closing an opportunity? Is that like kind of cutting something off that you might not really be ready to cut off? I don't see as much of like leadership per se in like my friend groups. I know that if we need to make a decision, I can definitely make a decision. If we're like between tacos and pizza, like I'll be like, all right, like this is what we're doing. But I definitely think that making sure you have these channels and like the accessibility to you with your friends is really important. Just because if there is a problem and you're not making yourself accessible to address the conflict, then that in itself like creates another problem.
Absolutely.
I have a question that I would like to ask. So you talked a lot about a manager you had at a previous role when you're working at the gallery who like, really helped you grow into that role. What advice do you have for either students or really anyone like interviewing for jobs? Like are there certain ways you can kind of identify who's going to be a good manager and help you grow? Or like, does the company itself help you grow? Like what questions can they ask or what things should they look for?
Yeah, after working at the gallery, when I started interviewing with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I mean, I just cannot say enough good things about where I'm at. I mean, honestly, every job I've had, I've like been so lucky to love it. I have a lot of friends who graduated college at the same time as me, and they're like on their fourth or fifth job because they just don't like the environment. I feel so thankful that I've had such a good experience at both of them. And when I was leaving the gallery, because of that exemplified leadership and experience and exposure I had, when I was interviewing, I very intentionally asked, how do you work to grow your team? They're just very pointed, like, and I feel like if they're caught off guard or they say, I don't really know, like I'll need to find out what like those pathways look like, that to me would be a red flag because it's like it should be something that you're actively doing in a leadership role with a team. I think also asking what I can do to help them achieve their idea of success. And it's funny because I actually had a mentor who gave me that question to ask during that interview. So I don't want to take credit for that one. But I think that says a lot too, because it's like, if it's like, well, you just need to meet your numbers and do this or whatever, then like that's it. That to me kind of shows a very like narrow focus. Whereas if it's like, well, I need you to share your ideas, like tell me what's working. So that way, if it's not working, we can adjust it. And I feel like when you get like those bigger picture answers back, like that helps know what you're getting into more so, rather than just being very focused on like, again, like those very tangible pieces of like metrics.
Yeah.
So I think remembering too, that every interview you go into, because I know I went into so many of them nervous, but now that I think back on it, I'm like, they should have been nervous to interview me, because this is an interview as much for them as it is for me. And I'm not going to work somewhere if I'm not impressed with them. And so I think remembering that and kind of hyping your own self up before you go into those interviews is key.
Power stance.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I do want to ask, sorry, I don't know, Carolyn, if you had a question. I was going to ask another one. Okay, cool. I want to ask a question and also give you opportunity to plug it a little bit. What's next for More Magazine? What things do you guys have coming up?
Yes, I'm so excited. I also totally forgot to mention that towards the end of the presentation. We have a founder to founder coming out tomorrow that I'm so excited about. Hasn't been announced yet, so I'll tell you guys now. It is with one of my friends who is a designer for wedding dresses, and she does high fashion as well. Lee Breton. They own Curvy Custom Bride, and I met her forever ago. Then we reconnected, and as I've started the magazine and she's really launched her business, we've had a lot of let's meet up as friends, but also talk about business ideas, conversations. And so I'm so excited. They create a space for their clients to feel comfortable with themselves. And they are such an amazing example of creating opportunity for people to voice their opinion. When you think about your wedding, I don't want to get on the whole soapbox about this, but when you think about your wedding, you like, there's a lot of people you kind of have to please, because it's like if you have in-laws helping you pay, if your parents are helping you pay, then you got to think about like everyone that's coming, and it's like you kind of lose sight of it. And so they do the wedding dress. Oh, they do the wedding dresses so beautifully, and suits and like anything you want. And they do such a good job of being like, this is your time to take your voice back and make whatever you want to have on the day that is really about you and your partner about you. And I sat in one time with one of my friends who was doing a consultation with her for their own wedding dress, and I got to see them in action and like talking through everything. And the way that they are so neutral, because I mean, in that position, they kind of are leading it because it's like their space, their studio. They were so neutral about it. And I think about that too sometimes when I lead, because it's like if you're not guiding them, like when people try something on, they don't say, oh, you look amazing. It's like, how do you feel? And like asking that first. So it's not that you feel like you're supposed to feel a certain way. You just authentically feel how you're feeling. And I think in like my own leadership role in my position now, I try to always ask, how do you think this project went? What did you like about it? What do you want to do different next time? And then like start there, because it doesn't really matter. Like, I mean, I'm at the end of the day as a leader, like you kind of have that like position of being like, this is what we're going to do, or this is what we're not going to do. But it doesn't really help anybody if you don't get to hear what they're thinking. Sorry, I kind of got off the magazine,
okay.
but we also just launched our 3rd issue, and we just hit our 1-year anniversary as a business, which is super exciting. Thank you. And our 3rd issue was focused on women and culture and the way that the two interact with one another, as well as their relationship with a variety of topics. So we talk a lot about opportunities and the ones that are there and the ones that are not there. One of them being the financial literacy gap and its impact on first generation women, period poverty, and the way that that impacts way more people than we think, especially with the pandemic, when people lost jobs, having to choose literally between buying food or another box of tampons. We also talk about bringing diversity and inclusivity into your brand and kind of where to get started. We talked about mental health and culture, amongst a variety of other topics. And so I definitely recommend checking it out. It's at moremagazine.org, and you can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, as well as our YouTube channel, where we share those founder to founder interviews. And we're constantly looking for meaningful partnerships and more nonprofit neighbors. We have 6 neighbors for every issue. And so we're always open to meeting people and sharing more stories and missions and voices.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
I don't know if we've got any more questions. So Sarah, if we get any other ones, we'll make sure to send them your way. But I think Sarah, unless anyone else on this call has a question, we can probably go ahead and go into the outro and get everybody the rest of their evening.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining, everyone. So let's give a round of applause for Arianna, and thank you so much for AIGA Unidos for wanting to collaborate on this. You guys heard More Magazine. That's where you can find on their YouTube channel, the Founder to Founder and other talks. Before we leave, I want to give a shout out to the sponsors again. For this amazing week. Any updates on event information throughout the week can be found on Slack. Don't forget. So please do sign up for our Slack and connect with fellow creatives. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on Slack via the Midwest Design Week support channel and direct message anyone from the organization team, and we'll help you with whatever you need. Thanks so much again, and have a great evening.
Awesome. Bye, everybody.